Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is Predictions Day, and joining me from the Second Tier podcast, Justin Peach. Justin, how you doing?
Yeah, not bad, thanks, Ben. How are you?
I'm good. There's lots of narratives here. I always try and get a bit of needle. You're a Derby fan, and I'm an Ipswich fan. I'm very concerned that this may not be the first showdown between Ipswich and Derby between now and, say, the second week in May.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We are riding a high, but being a Derby fan, it almost seems too good to be true. Like there's some beaten records, our best since I think Billy Davis was in charge a mere 15, 16 years ago. So yeah, this is uncharted territory for many Derby fans, and I think many will be as nervous as Ipswich fans. But then again, you guys have a history of falling away, so I imagine it's the same for you.
Both sides have history of being like two of the worst playoff teams in the
Spotless.
history of the world. Anyway, Justin's going to come over onto Patreon with me afterwards. We'll talk a bit, we'll talk a lot Championship, we'll talk second tier podcast. We will talk about Ipswich and Derby in League One because I would say, and we'll discuss this later in the EFL, it's the best promotion race going. So we will get into that. But Justin, seismic news on the predictions. And I mean, this shows how bad I am at predictions because I predicted no one would ever get past Sam Parkin. But we have a new leader on the leaderboard. Last week, not only does he have the aging qualities of a vampire, was a brilliant footballer and is a lovely bloke, but Matt Holland is at the top of the Championship predictions leaderboard here. So he's on 20 points. Parkin's on 19. Chris Gorham and Sani Rudravajula are on 12. Where are you pitching yourself here with your predictions this week?
If anyone's tuned into the second tier podcast preview episodes, they will be all too aware of how dreadful my predictions are. I mean, for example, just a few weeks ago, I predicted Blackburn to beat Rotherham and Rotherham turn him over 4-0. So, I mean, the championship is unpredictable, but that is a bad one.
Okay. So do you see your role here as making Chris and Sani feel better about themselves and coming beneath them? Or do you think you can challenge the great Matt Holland?
Wow. I mean, I could pull off the Leicester City and challenge someone who is an EFL legend. I mean, putting myself in that category would be pretty spectacular. But this is the only route I've got to do it. The only route I've got to do it. So hopefully, I'll do that justice.
It's all any of us have got, Justin. So scoring system. I'll give you a point if you get the correct outcome, even if you get the score wrong. I'll give you a point if you get the home score right. I'll give you a point if you get the away score right. So that does give you... no one's ever going to get zero with those things in. If you do get all three, so you get the home, away, and by definition, you've got the outcome right as well, I'll give you a bonus point. So you'll get 4 points. That's how you win this one. You've got to get, I don't know, 3, maybe even 4 of the 12 completely correct now. This is the standard these boys are setting up the top. Let me give you the option, Justin. Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first yourself, or do you want to rotate and we'll do one first each?
Yeah, what was the old penalty system that they trialled for like one season where they do?
If it's penalties, always go first. But I don't agree with that on predictions, I have to say.
I mean, I'm easy either way. I could dive in first. I don't mind. That'd be fun.
Love that. So Justin is going to dive in first. We're looking at Championship. What is it? It's round 30, 31? Is that sounds about right, doesn't it?
So, yeah.
And we're starting on Friday night, Justin, with Birmingham versus West Brom. And complete transparency, we're filming on Wednesday morning. Carlos Corberan has signed a new contract last night. Birmingham versus West Brom, Justin.
Birmingham versus West Brom. Birmingham, not too bad at home. It's a derby as well. And West Brom, I mean, the form is good under Corberan, but I think it will be a sticky one for them. So I'm going with a 1-1 draw for this. I fancy Birmingham to hold their own against West Brom, especially after that win at the weekend.
I'm not far off you, Justin. I don't think West Brom will lose, but I also don't think it's guaranteed. If this was in the other stadium, I'd probably be piling on West Brom. But yeah, I don't think you're far off. I don't want to match you up, so I will go for the Baggies. I'm not overly confident. I think Birmingham might get something, but I'll go for West Brom just because of their momentum. So I'll go 2-1 Baggies, and we'll move on to Mick McCarthy's Blackpool against Matt Taylor's fairly well-informed Rotherham.
Rotherham's away form isn't the best, and Blackpool. I mean, it's only been a couple of games so far, so I think it's quite hard to see too much progress. Although the fight back that they had against Huddersfield on Tuesday night was pretty spectacular with 10 men as well to get back in the game. And Mick McCarthy went for the jugular. And I think he will more or less try and do the same against Rotherham, and I think it might work in his favour. So I'm going to go with a 3-1 win for Blackpool, quite a heavy one, but I just fancy goals from Blackpool in this one.
I like that a lot. And beans, you've done that. That will allow me, because I've got Rotherham quite badly wrong a few times. So what I might do is just back them this time and try and... so I'm basically backing against you, Justin, and backing for Rotherham. Apologies, Blackpool fans in the comments. So let's go Rotherham. As you say, the away form's not great, so they wouldn't be scoring many, but it is Mick in the other dugout. So let's go for a low scorer. Let's go Blackpool 0, Rotherham 1. And this always tends to be quite a good game, this one. Bristol City versus Norwich, even going back to Lee Johnson and Daniel Farker. How do you see this one going?
Bristol City, they're in that middle of the streak, aren't they, where they look unbeatable for 7 or 8 games, and then they'll lose 7 or 8 games after it. But as I say, they're in the middle of this. They're in the middle of this really good run of form, and I do fancy them against Norwich. And it's not down to anything other than probably Bristol City being in a better position than Norwich at this point. And obviously, coming off the back of a heavy defeat for Norwich, I think Wagner will try and tighten things up, especially because that Coventry game, they looked quite open, especially in just before half-time as well. But I think Bristol City might edge it 2-1. I think it'll be a tight one because, I say, Wagner will want to tighten it up. So I'm going with a Bristol City win here.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. BTTS is the way here, I think. The Norwich and Bristol City fans will correct me if I'm wrong. This one's always sort of 2-2 or 3-2 either way. So I will go down the middle. I'll go with the Desmond. I've been quite heavy on Norwich since Wagner has been in. So I'll go Bristol City 2, Norwich 2. And Justin and I are both self-professed championship nerds. Are we going to get 10 in a row from Burnley? Burnley versus Preston.
Burnley versus Preston. I mean, it's a local derby as well. Burnley are high, flying high.
Preston skew
obviously
better away from home, Justin.
That's the thing as well. And how they set up against Blackburn really impressed me. I know it was a long time ago. It feels like a long time ago now, but that feels like the benchmark performance from Preston, especially of away games. And I feel like if they can replicate that, they might nick a result. And I'm in that zone where I'm thinking this run cannot continue for Burnley. It just can't. It's just not feasible for it to be happening, because if it is, they're just freaks of nature. So I'm going with logic here, and I fancy Preston to upset the apple cart massively with a 1-1 draw. I think it'll be an S-House job from Ryan Lowe.
I'm here for the streaks and the records. That's all there is to it. So I've got to go for the 10th straight win, and let's go for them to do it clear, Justin. Burnley 2, Preston 0. They're just unstoppable at the moment. The Neil Warnock derby, I know we can say that about 5 different championship fixtures, but Cardiff versus Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough in form. Lamucci 2 defeats so far, no goals. I think I'm right in saying either.
Yeah, I should have looked it up before, but Cardiff haven't scored in quite a few games, which is worrying for obvious reasons. And obviously, Middlesbrough are just this train, just an efficient train. They're a bullet train in Japan, where they're just on time, they're quick, they're very, very good. Probably more so trains in Germany than the bullet train in Japan. So I can only see something of a professional job here, away from home, 1 or 2-0. I'll go with 2-0. Mainly because Akpom's on fire and other players are coming up into form as well. It's just impossible to see anything other than Borough win here, and a win to 0, pretty much.
I need a scoreline, Justin.
A 2-0.
2-0. I'm buying your entire argument, to be honest. I do like Lamucci. I do think in the end they'll get stubborn and they'll get draws and wins and have sort of, runs of being difficult to beat. But I like Middlesbrough a lot at the moment. Like you say, the squad has always been one of the better ones after the Spence money came in. And I think don't know what happened with Wilder. Continues to befuddle my brain that he couldn't get a tune out of that squad. But yeah, I'm with you. Let's go. Beans, you've said 2-0. I won't double you up. Shall I go 2-1 or shall I go 1-0? You've argued Cardiff. Let's go for Cardiff to score then. So
Wow.
2-1 Borough. Cardiff 1, Borough 2. This is a hard one to call. Coventry versus Luton. Coventry, good side, but Luton in nice form at the moment.
And I think as well, Rob Edwards has taken the Luton attack to a slightly different, and not level, but certainly a different
Strategy,
perspective. Yeah, to what Nathan Jones was getting out of him, and they've become clinical as well. I don't think the FA Cup defeat will linger too much, and Rob Edwards has said to supporters that they owe him a performance. So I think Luton will come into this game not with a point to prove, but certainly wanting to put things right, and I think that will help them. And Coventry, they've gone very far away from that form or strategy or style of play that got them a lot of clean sheets just before the World Cup break. So I fancy a Luton 2-1 win here. I just think goal scorers here are going to prove the difference, and Luton have got more of them than Coventry.
Yeah, I think you're probably right in making Luton favourites. I think it'd be like a fourth straight win in a row. I like both sides. I do think Luton are favourites, but I think it might end up all square. I think I might go down the middle for this one. I'll go for a 1-1, a Coventry 1, Luton 1. QPR versus Millwall.
Again, it's that run, that streak, isn't it? Can QPR continue not winning? Can Burnley continue winning? And for QPR, I can't see them not winning a game for any longer. But then again, they're coming up against a Millwall team who are not the best away from home. But then again, it's a London fixture, so are they really away from home, quote unquote? So I think it'll be a draw, and I think it'll be a good result and a good performance from QPR that gets them the result. So I'm going with a 1-1 draw, low scoring one here.
Yeah, I'm with you on low scoring. I'm with you on there not being much in it. If it was in the other stadium again, I'd be back in Millwall.
Yeah.
I haven't played nil effing nil, so let's just go 0-0 stalemate. Nothing doing here. Rowett leaves with a point. QPR kind of go down at the same path. 0-0 for me. Sheffield United versus Swansea. I'm sure we'll all have our popcorn for Ross Martin's press conference. They'll be travelling, so we're recording on Wednesday. It'll be on Thursday morning, won't it? We think, but don't particularly much like what's going on in the background at Swansea. There, difficult game. This one. How do you see it going?
It is a difficult game. Well, for Sheffield United, they're coming up against a team who will want to dominate possession, and I think that's going to play in Sheffield United's favour. They're very good. They're very good. They're a very good setup against teams who like to play possession football, and I think that's going to, as I say, play in their favour. So I think it's going to be maybe a 3-1, or maybe I might edge towards a 3-2, mainly because Swansea have just hit this patch of just being able to put chances away, which they haven't been able to do most of the season. So I'm going with a 3-2 win, a high-scoring game here. Sheffield United have looked a little bit vulnerable over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I like the cut of your jib on that one. I think Swansea just open. It screams of both teams to score again, doesn't it? I agree with you. I like Russ Martin, by the way, and I agreed with what he was saying in that press conference. But sometimes that element of chaos and maybe protecting your own position and what did Mick say? Would you rather be on the outside peeing in or on the inside peeing? Sometimes when you're excluding the owners from that or the fans from that, it doesn't necessarily work out well. I won't go 3-2 then. I will go 2-1 Sheffield United. Not very informed Stoke versus informed Hull.
Stoke are impossible to predict because...
Get your excuses in early.
Okay, there's that. They're so inconsistent, though, aren't they? They're so inconsistent. And Hull's away form is a lot better than their home form, and they're on a roll at the moment. And I've seen pictures of Malcolm Ebioe training this week, and I think that's going to be. I mean, that's exciting. That's exciting for any support of the Championship. Him being back playing regular football. So if he's involved, I fancy Hull to turn them over with a clean sheet. So I'm going with a 2-0 win for Hull. I just don't. I can't predict Stoke at all. I don't think anybody can. I don't think Alex Neil can. I don't think anybody can. It's impossible.
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm I've got Hull as favourites because of the streak. I think maybe home advantage and Stoke's unpredictability maybe mitigates against a little bit, but I'm trying to make arguments and I'm just completely uncertain. I think I'm going to have to go for another boring. I'll go for a draw on this one, but I've got Hull as favourites. Let's go Stoke 1, Hull 1, and it's Sunderland versus Reading.
I can only see this one ending a draw. I think Sunderland. I'm interested to see the route they go down without Ross Stewart. They didn't really get into the flow against Millwall at the weekend. I think they scored with their only shot on target. And Reading's away form is pretty poor. They concede a lot of goals away from home. So I fancy a 2-2 draw for this. Again, it'll be an entertaining one. But then defensively, they're getting bodies back, Sunderland, so that might help. But yeah, I think openness will be the key here. 2-2 for me.
This feast or famine on this one. This is either going to be like 3-0 to Sunderland or 3-0 to Reading in one of those weird games where Reading just turn up and, I don't know, have Tom Ince scores 2 goals from 0.1 XG or something. Oh, God. Who do I think's more... I could just go for a complete wild card and go for... No. I'll go with home form. And I've just said it's going to be 3-0, but I'm exaggerating for effect, aren't I? 2-0 Sunderland with the caveat anything could happen in this one. Watford versus Blackburn. Surly, John Dull, Thomason, but Watford, weird.
2 really inconsistent teams, aren't they? Performances and results. It's really, really, again, really hard one to separate. And this fixture defines the term whoever shows up on the day will get the result.
Agreed, yeah.
And I think Blackburn might just edge it. I fancy a 1-0 win for Blackburn here.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's a pretty bold one, but they'll score with their only shot on target as they have done most of the season. So yeah, I'm going clean sheet for Blackburn. I can't see Watford impressing too much.
Again, agree with your logic. Blackburn all over the place. So I'll back against you. And I normally do this with Watford and just go with star power. And like you said, well, those players should be really good, shouldn't they? And
should be.
Doesn't turn out. So I'll just mirror what you've done and go 1-0 Watford. And we're on to the last one. Cool, big game this one. Wigan versus Huddersfield. I didn't spot that on the fixture list.
Yeah, again, I hate the cliche, but it's a 6-pointer, isn't it, for both sides? Wigan need the wins. Huddersfield need confidence and the win as well. This fixtures. It feels like that video of Tyson Fury punching himself. Is it Tyson Fury? That's what this fixture feels like. But yeah, Wigan impressed me on Monday night. They looked solid. And they haven't looked solid since probably the very early stages of this season under Liam Richardson. So I think that's going to pay dividends for them. Huddersfield not impressing me at all in Mark Fotheringham. So I'm going with a 1-0 win for Wigan. It'll be a good job there for Maloney, I think.
Yeah. I'm just trying to work out the implications of that. That would be really bad news for Fotheringham. And yet it's kind of like, where do you go if you're Huddersfield? Then you do lose at Wigan after that.
Yeah, very scary for them.
I think Huddersfield have still got better players than Wigan. I don't trust Fotheringham, but I don't know Maloney. So I'm a bit confused. Let's go for the most unhelpful draw. And I'm sorry to do it. I'm going to go for another 1-1 and just to show how unsure I am about this one. Justin, thank you for joining me on the predictions today. You can find Justin on the Second Tier podcast each and every week. There'll be lots of pluggery for that, and we'll talk about the show and whatnot over on Patreon right now. So get across to Benjamin Bloom, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. We had movement in the leaderboard last week with Matt Holland getting to the top. Can Justin get there? Are you confident?
Weirdly confident after saying all of that because I just feel like it was far too logical. But that's going to change come 4:55 on Saturday, isn't it?
It's always the way with predictions. I'm like, oh, these are brilliant. I have nailed it this week. And then the championship makes fools out of all of us. Speaking of which, what do I prefer? Do I prefer someone being a smart ass after the event or getting involved beforehand? Get involved beforehand. down there in the comments. Get your own predictions in. And if you fancy scoring yourself, apologies, I don't have time with the amount of comments to score everybody else, just our guest. But if you do fancy scoring yourself, remember, I can see if you've edited your comment after the fact as well. So do get involved down there. Justin, thank you for joining me. And do hop across now. We're probably going to go another 15, 20 minutes with Justin over on Patreon.